ready back there?
I know.
I couldn't hear the number yet. What do you say, Paul?
Good week, buddy. How about you?
I have some serious problems with this Hurricane Irma. Well, you know, my son is an engineer. My son's an engineer on South Beach, and my new daughter-in-law is a firefighter, paramedic in Lauderdale. So they have to stay. And it's heading right for them, and it's Category 5, and Matt says it's coming straight right into Miami Beach, where they just bought a $350,000 house. Hopefully he has insurance. But that's not my problem. My ex-wife is down there, which isn't my problem anymore. And all the other people down there, I don't know, they can flood. That's not my problem. My problem is
the other hurricane that's
my other hurricane, Hurricane Samantha, my daughter, calls me the other day. She says, "Dad, I'm coming up for the hurricane." I said, "Okay. I'm bringing Katie." I like Katie. And Lisa. I like Lisa. And Brittany. And their dogs. And another friend of mine and her boyfriend and their 2 dogs. So that's 6 kids, 6 24-year-olds.
Oh, wow.
And 6 puppies. So I just spent the last 2 hours at my house putting up 2 tents. That's where they're sleeping.
I have a cat. I don't need that.
So, I got tents out there, electric, the hoses out there, the fire pit, they can have fun, see you later, in 3 days, you can go home. And they all want to go on my sailboat, which is only 22 foot. I don't know how many people I can fit on my sailboat. That's my problem, is Hurricane Samantha. So please pray for me out there. Send food, whiskey for me, cigars I have, and if anybody wants to adopt a child, she's coming. She's just like me, a big, loud, obnoxious pain in the butt. But she's cute like me, and you gotta love her.
And you think 3 days, huh?
Anyway, she says 3 days, but last time she handled Alaska, she stayed for 8 months. So anyway, let's go in the green. All right. Welcome everybody.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, you didn't record all the Samantha stuff. Well, that's good. Because I know I'll get in trouble for that.
Oh, we recorded it, Mark.
I'm not worried about Steve yelling at me or anybody. It's my daughter. Well, first thing I want to do is I want to give this check. One of the second checks we have, unfortunately it's not very nice, but it does say polio on it.
Oh yeah, you got my money. Where's my money?
So this is a network marketing type
I
thing.
never say no to money.
You bring people here, you actually get paid. So don't spend it all at one spot.
I won't. I'll try not to.
All right. Last week we were going to have welcome. Last week we were going to have somebody speaking on. What do you want to speak on? Short sales. Unfortunately, his Ferrari broke down somewhere on 40 and 440, and he couldn't actually make it, even though he was trying so very hard to get here. Manny, I did get your
hours and I was still by
you did ask for 4 tickets to the Tchaikovsky concert. So I got you the 4 tickets for your family for the Tchaikovsky concert. Unfortunately, I only got row 2. I'm in row 1 though, right in front of you. Thank you for almost teaching from us last time.
And we
I do have one more gift, but we'll do a drawing out of anybody who brought the business card. Anyway, look, we like to have fun here at Green. We're talking about having a big thank you barbecue next month at the marina, where the best blues and best barbecue is at the Nashville Shores Marina. And you'll all get information on that shortly. But we try to have a lot of education. Besides, we don't just teach about our education company. we actually bring you the education. I met Dan on Facebook a few times. I watched some of his videos. I was always interested in notes. We bought many notes, Steve and I, not many, but we bought quite a few. I didn't like a lot of the note teachers out there because if you're not an A player or a B player, you end up getting the C and D notes. Dan was a little different on that. He was a little more fair when he started teaching about notes. So I wanted to bring him along. This is his first time speaking for Green. Hopefully, if everything goes well, maybe we'll get him to teach for us, do some recordings for a class for us. But I'd like to introduce right now Dan Zitofsky. Did I say that right, Dan?
You did. Dan
Zitofsky. Wait, where you from? Where's Zitofsky from, Dan? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Russia somewhere. As far back as we know, though, it's New York. Okay.
Because we have a lot of Eastern Europeans here, so they probably know where the name came from.
It's probably I'm sure it's switched.
All right. Well, anyway, right now we're going to hear from Dan Zitofsky. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Thanks for inviting me. It's nice to meet everybody here. I'm used to speaking nationwide and live events, sometimes 300+ people there. And it's nice to come back and speak to a smaller group and people that are, investors that are doing all different things in business. It might be fix and flips, wholesales, rentals, commercial land deals, mobile homes, whatever it might be, private lending. And believe it or not, I've done it all. I'm in this business 28 years, and I started probably right where everyone else here started until I realized, hey, I like creating wealth passively. I like being the bank, some form, some way, and that's how we do it. So like you said, it's true. A lot of note trainings that I go to and I speak at, they're for very large note players. And it's just unfortunate that they're not being taught to the people that want to buy these one-off notes or create a note. So I'm hoping I can give you some strategies here on due diligence. That's the most important thing. I'm not going to talk too much today on why to buy a note and what a note is. But real simply, we're going to talk about, either buy the property or you own the asset or you own the paper. And when you own the note, it's like you're going in your own personal property. When you make that mortgage payment every month to Wells Fargo, to Chase, they don't care if your toilet bowl breaks. They're still getting paid, right? And that's what this is about, and that's what I like. I mean, I own a lot of rentals. I still do own a lot of rentals, and that's my exit strategy usually, but I like to do it through the note business. So I'll just give you a little information and some due diligence and pique your interest here a little bit. I'm not here selling you anything. I'm not looking to spend money with me. I just want to teach you this business a little bit, pique your interest, and if you want to learn more, there's a million places you can learn more, and maybe I'll be doing a class for you guys. All right, so I am the president of Zitofsky Capital Management. We have been around 28 years. I've done over 1,000 transactions, most of those fix and flips, probably a couple thousand rental transactions and notes, from private lending to originating notes to buy non-performing first and second mortgages. I'm a non-performing first acquisition guy. I don't play too much in the second business. Very high risk. There's big rewards, but there's very high risk, and that's not where I play because I raise a lot of money as well. Okay, so like I said, right now we own about $15 million in that range in fair market value of notes and turnkey rental properties. We are partners in a couple multifamily projects, so we own a ton of doors like that. Right now we have about 300+ notes under management. Most of those started as non-performing notes or rental properties that we sold to investors as seller financing, holding a note. So you can create your own notes too. I just, most of the time I buy a non-performing note, a tax lien, distressed seller asset. I buy it, I fix it up, I'll rent it, and I'll sell it to an investor holding a note. So I create a non-owner occupied note with skin in the game and money, skin in the game and equity. So we hold probably the 5-star notes because there's a lot of exit strategies. And this is the biggest thing we're going to talk about. When you buy a note, the biggest thing I see problems with newer investors is they get into the business and they don't actually have an exit strategy. You need to have an exit strategy. Don't go into this note with one exit strategy. There's probably about 8 or 9 exit strategies. So always know your exit strategies. Always have your ROI calculator prepared and know what you're going to do. Because if you get into this saying, hey, I'm only getting into this note because I want to do a workout with the borrower, it doesn't work, well, then you made no money and you're left holding the bag. And I see it happen a lot now. There's going to be a lot of inventory coming available in the next year or two for people overpaying for notes. Okay, here's just some of our notes, our presents, and just to show you the areas. The nice thing about notes is you do not need to buy them in your backyard. Okay, I know you guys you're all in Tennessee right now. You do not need to buy them in your backyard. I do a lot of stuff in Tennessee, less now because people are up bidding overbidding by a lot in Memphis area. I only buy Class B to C properties. So I know there's a lot of people out there in the Memphis market that are buying the low-end properties that are only worth $20,000. The other thing we look for is an ARV of $70,000 to $120,000 in that range. So essentially anything over $70,000 because of our exit strategy, which is we ultimately only will buy a note on a property we want to own. And that's different than most people. So the markets we're in is pretty much Cleveland, Tennessee, Alabama, Delaware, because I live there now, Pennsylvania, and Smyrna, Georgia. Okay? But when we do notes, and the other thing you want to look at is when you buy a note, you want to pick, and I'll talk about this later, 5 markets. Stay in 5 markets. And those markets that I like there's a reason. They're non-judicial markets. They're easy to foreclose. Okay? There's programs like hardest hit funds that give, they give borrowers help to catch them up on their payments. Don't just buy for hardest hit funds because it's impossible to get. Pick 5 markets, and the reason why 5 is important, 3 to 5, is because you need to build a team in every market. As part of due diligence we're going to talk about today. Who's on your team? Okay, when you buy in 10, 20 different markets, can you imagine trying to set up a team? Half of you guys probably have trouble setting up a team where you're at right now, I'm sure. You're dealing with headaches with contractors, mortgage reps, inspectors, appraisers, realtors. Imagine trying to do that in 20 markets. Okay, so you set up your note business the same way, but you do not have to do it in your backyard. Okay? Our investment approach when we buy notes, I'll take it through a 1 through 6 investment approach. And I do this pretty quickly, but when you do this, you really want to put into play what your exit strategy is. So you want to look at the neighborhood. All right, what's in the neighborhood, the parameters, and then build that power team. So we'll talk about that a little bit. The neighborhood, we'll look at stuff like, Economic Development Corp, Chamber of Commerce. What job growth is there? How close are we to the highways? We want to make sure that the population is not 1,500 people. There's no way to sell that note or to rent that note. Okay? So you want to look at your predefined area that you're buying a note in. Okay? Then when you identify your note, you want to do your due diligence. Okay? So how do you look for notes? There's a lot of places to look for notes now. Okay? If you want the low-hanging fruit, there's people I don't really sell off my notes. I like to keep them because it creates my wealth. But there's a lot of people that will sell notes to you, from individual sellers to online sources will sell them. You have note brokers out there that will sell those notes to you. There's exchanges that will sell notes to you, okay? There's hedge funds, servicing companies. But what I like to do is I create my own note, originate my own note. And if you can get to that point, that's a game changer. You create that note, you have the gold. There's so many exit strategies once you do that, okay? Then once you get that note and you go through the due diligence, you need to board that loan and get it serviced professionally. You don't want to service your own notes, okay? And you want to do borrow or reach out and get it set with an attorney immediately. Don't wait. Don't get a note and say, I'm going to save money with legal because I don't have enough money to make money if I don't use legal. Do not buy a note and don't price it out without pricing out legal. So before you go to market, you probably want to call some attorneys, okay, or just put a request out there. Who has an attorney that does foreclosures in Tennessee, Ohio, Alabama? Okay, learn what it's going to cost. Learn the length of time it takes to foreclose, okay, pending bankruptcies. You need to know that because that goes into your ROI. Okay, and then a disposition. What are you going to do with that note? Are you looking to foreclose? Are you looking to do a borrow workout? Are you looking to do a deed in lieu of foreclosure? Are you looking to do a cash for keys? Are you looking to make it a rental? Are you looking for hardest hit funds? Are you looking to do a fix and flip? Are you looking to not fix and flip, just hotel it? Are you looking to wholesale it? There's a lot you can do. I'm sure in your group there's a lot of people right now looking for properties to fix and flip. Well, imagine you can get a note and be all in at 50, 60 cents on the dollar, and you come to the group and say, hey, I have this deal right now. If there's anyone want to buy it, I'm sure everybody will raise their hand and say, I want to buy it. Because I know anytime I speak at an event, if I want to sell my note, all I have to do is put it up and people will pay me 100 to 102% of the value because it's a powerful note. So you want to make sure you do that in advance. Okay, here's just an idea of some of our portfolio, what we look for when we do a note. One of my biggest markets was Cleveland, Memphis, Tennessee, Alabama. We'll talk about those three. I like to be, close to, right now Cleveland we're about 35 to 45 miles within Fortune 500 companies. Okay, we have big landmarks and employees like Cleveland Clinic, landmarks like downtown Cleveland has all the sports teams. Okay, where you can be in a Class B blue collar neighborhood, so working class neighborhood where people need housing. All right, husband, wife might work, they take pride ownership in housing, the lawns are cut, people have decent cars there, there's not boarded up houses on the block. That's what we like. We like property values in the $70,000 to $120,000 range. For us, that works. That's not right or wrong. It works. I will warn you, stay away from anything that has a rental income of $500 or less, and anything that has a property value of under $50,000, because your exit strategy becomes very little. Because if you have to foreclose and you have to evict the people in that house, you're still going to have to put sheetrock on, roof on, HVAC system, hot water heater, flooring, paint, carpet. It still might run you $40,000 to do a rehab. So just because the house is only worth $50,000, it still might cost you $40,000. Okay? Now, if my property is worth $120,000, I spend $40,000, it's not so bad. Okay, as long as that's in my numbers. Okay? We like areas where vacancy is no more than 7% in that market. Actually, I should say we like areas no more than 15% vacancy. But we're always in the 3 to 7% mark in that range in markets. For instance, in Alabama, it's a 96.1% occupancy. That's why we love that Birmingham market. Okay, rents ranging from $900 to $1,200 per month. Okay, illegal, non-judicial states. We want to foreclose quick. Okay, we want to get away from any kind of rental disputes and legal disputes. That's going to waste time. These are all the things that due diligence. But now let's go through. I'll go through some of our current offers real quick. I just want to show you what we've done, but I don't want to spend too much time on what I've done on my deals. I want to kind of give you due diligence because I know we don't have a ton of time. But here's a property we did in Cleveland, Ohio. It's Class B to C type property, almost 1,200 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 1 bath, detached garage. Total outlay of funds on this deal was $48,870. We did that for 8 months. We sold this property to a turnkey investor for $74,200. Property appraisals all day long for $78,000 to $80,000 on this one. Okay, so we sold this for cash. They bought it cash. We didn't hold a note for them. Okay, we would have held a note. We would have increased the value, the sales price. But our investors come to us, and a lot of them have money, and they want to just pick up. They want to be active investors. They want to own properties in their portfolio because they want to retire. Okay, and we show them how to do that too. Well, we profited almost $38,000 on this deal. We did that in 8 months. So an annualized return on this was 78% on this deal. Okay, how we bought it right. We did our due diligence. We scored on this deal. We did all, and when I say due diligence, I'll talk a little bit more about due diligence in a later slide. But here's one deal we did. I'll show you a couple other ones, and not to go through it. We did one on Manford Road. We were all in about 46.4. In 5 months, we profited $29,600. Okay, the next one we were all in for 58, a little bit higher. Reason we were in for higher is there was almost $9,000 in taxes due that we had to pay. That's part of your due diligence. So we profited about $16,200 on that. We didn't make as much. We still had a nice return on that, annualized. Okay. So this is, for instance, I'm just going to show you why I invest in Cleveland. I just picked one market rather than going through all the markets. I just want to show you why I do it, because you're going to want to do this if you invest in notes. And not only that, a lot of times when we invest in notes, we don't even use our own money. We joint venture with an investor that puts up the money. We do all the work, and we do a joint venture agreement. So you want to be able to explain to them why you're investing in that area. So some of the living factors we look at are neighborhoods growing. Okay, they're fixing up the neighborhoods. Education is improving. There's a lot of markets where you can look at. It's very easy to go in public records and look at the top markets with education, how they're improving or declining. You want a diverse population. Okay, you don't want to be in an area where it's not diverse at all. I'm sorry, let me turn it off. You will definitely want some redevelopment and renovation. You want gentrification in markets. You want to see downtown areas being fixed up. Okay, and not letting the city go. Some of the business factors you want to see the reason I like Cleveland is 70% of the Fortune 500 companies at least have a presence in Cleveland. Okay, it's very low cost of doing business, so businesses move there. It's strategically located, and it's corporate tax friendly. Why is that important? Because with corporate jobs there, people are moving there, they're going to have work. If you go to an area where it's a military base and that's all they have, like I live in Delaware, Dover, Delaware is a military base. They keep threatening to close it down. I'm watching people invest there left and right. I'm just waiting for that base to close down, and that real estate's going to go to crap. Look what happened in Detroit back in the day. Detroit's doing great now. Why? There's more than just automakers there. There's your Quicken out there. There's multiple companies out there. There's multiple healthcare facilities and technology out there. It's a great market right now, Detroit. So we look at economic factors. It's a low cost of living there. I mean, to get a house like that for $80,000 in a nice Class B to C neighborhood, B minus C plus neighborhood, where rent is $900, $1,200 a month, it works out great. So it's a great price rent to mortgage price ratio. Okay, and it's also ranked by Fortune 500 as one of the top 10 places to invest in the United States. Inc. 500, all of those great groups, you can look them up. Okay, and we have housing market trends. I just don't want to go through why invest in Cleveland. Well, I want to really get into the risk of this. What's the biggest risk in this business? I always say, people, it's you. It's you not doing your own due diligence. Okay, when I talk about due diligence, I look at a note. The couple things I'm going to look at on a note is the equity and loan status. Let's talk about that. A lot of times people try to sell you notes, and it's definitely buyer beware. And I always tell people in this business, trust me, but verify me. Look me up, check what I say before you invest $1 with me. You'll never see a bad thing about us. But you always want to check the sellers. The sellers are the most unethical people I've ever met in business, in the note business. Why? You need to close in a note deal by looking at collateral. Collateral is all your paperwork, your mortgage. You're buying a mortgage, you're buying an assignment, you're buying an allonge. Okay, I know you don't know what those all mean right now. You might know some of them, you might know what it means. But you're buying paperwork. Okay, you don't even get the originals until after you close, much, much later, hopefully. Okay, so you really need to know the seller you're working with. Okay, because all they do is sell you. Imagine buying a house and they say, here's a copy of our paperwork. Send us a wire for $300,000 and maybe we'll send you the originals. That's kind of how the note business is. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to be real. There's a lot of unethical people in this business, but there's a lot of great people. Okay? So make sure you check the status, and it's very easy to check that. They'll tell you you're buying your first mortgage, and sometimes you're buying a second. Once you send them the money, that's it. You don't get it back. There's really no title companies that do these closing. So you want to do your due diligence before. So what you do is you're going to do a quick title on this. There's companies that'll do it within 24 hours. You can get that done, or you can go to your own title company. We use Pro Title. I think they charge like $80. We do so many, they charge like $80, but maybe you guys would pay $90 or $95. It's well worth it. Okay, so you want collateral review. You want to review the collateral, and you're new, so I know you don't know what to look at, but you still want to read it. And then you want to give it to your attorney, or you want to give it to companies like Richmond Monroe or Orion. That's who I use. So they give it once look over. I think they charge me $150 to look it over. And I've been doing so many of these for so many years, but you know what? Gray hair, I'm getting old. I might miss something. You don't want to miss something on that. You want to make sure you have all the assignments done, all the allonges done, and everything's okay. A lot of times you got to remember you're buying beat up loans, so things might be missing. It's not something to be too scared of, because companies like Richmond Monroe, Orion, or your attorneys will be able to actually get that fixed. They'll do lost assignment affidavits. So, but you want to know what's out there, okay? You want to also know, and that's going to give you the legal requirements. You also try to get an idea of your borrower's intent, and you have to kind of tell a story, okay? What you're going to do is when you look at an asset, you like the area, you're going to go through and say, okay, I have a tape and I like these areas. And in these areas, you're going to say, okay, I like these streets, whatever it might be. Okay, because your tape is a spreadsheet probably with a few hundred assets on it. So you're going to knock out everything you don't like and look at, okay, I like Tennessee, I'm going to look just Tennessee. So then what you're going to do is you're going to send somebody by the house. You should have a team. Your power team is going to be a realtor that you trust, okay, that works, a contractor that you know and trust, and a property manager that you know and trust, okay? and ultimately you're going to have an attorney there. But those are the three you want to hit up right away. And what I do is I right away hit my contractor, my realtor, and my property manager, all three. And now I'm in a situation where I kind of street by street, I really know the market. But I'll say, hey, this is the property. Can you run by it, take some pictures for me? You really want to have your own contractor taking pictures. You really want to have your own realtor giving you comps. Okay, there are BPO companies out there, but BPO companies are just that. They'll call a local real estate company and just have anyone do comps, and they'll run it online, and they won't know the area. You want to get your own realtor. It's very easy to do that. If you don't know a realtor in the market, get on Realtor.com, get on Zillow, get on Active Rain, get a realtor in that market. Say, listen, I'm a note buyer. I'm looking to buy notes here I'm going to probably be foreclosing. How much would you sell this property for if I rehabbed it? Just like you do in your business. You want to know what the ARV is. Okay? You want a contract that will run by that property. And you got to remember, it's probably going to be occupied because you got to decide if you want an occupied or unoccupied house. I like occupied, okay, because there's more exit strategies. So,
Dan.
Yeah. Stop me anything.
I'm stopping you. All right, let's do it like a recap because I don't know about these guys, but a lot of it went over my head. Anybody have any questions so far?
I always have lots of questions.
Yes, go ahead. Can we do a few questions and answers?
Yeah, I love it.
So we can catch back up on the first part. I think you're going to go another 15 minutes or so.
Maybe a good bridge because you're extremely experienced at this and I'm moderately experienced in this. I probably bought about 20 notes.
Cool.
First question, isn't Ohio a judicial foreclosure state?
Ohio is judicial, but it could foreclose. So you're right. Well,
You had mentioned creating, and I apologize about the feedback. We get that when we have the open mic here. Creating a note that you can sell for 100% of value. No, it's not mine. It's the top. Andrea, is it just because it's going through? Oh wait, you turned mine on. I didn't. Okay. Yeah, you mentioned creating notes that you can sell for 100% of value. I was curious about some of the particulars of what you incorporate into that note to ensure that it has that value for resale when you're creating that yourself.
Okay. And we're talking about 100% value on pay balance, correct?
Correct. And now that I assume you're creating something that you intend to sell as a performing note as opposed to. And I was also just a little bit interested in how you're bridging that gap. But,
Okay. We get it.
Obviously, you're buying non-performing first with equity with the intention of somehow stabilizing it, turning it into a rental, possibly creating a performing note, selling that note. But I'm just curious about a little bit of the process. In other words, obviously a certain rate of return would be expected, and then possibly. I'm just curious what you would have to say about that. Sure.
That's a whole class in itself. I actually just went through and I taught it. But let me give you real quick on how we do that. If we take down a note, like let's say, for instance, I've done in fact, I have a couple right now that I'm ready to do. We take down one of these assets. Let's say it's worth $70,000, and I'm all into the asset for $40,000. I'm collecting rent on that usually for about a year before I sell it. Okay. I'll turn around, let's say I'm collecting, $10,000 in rent. I'm just going to take that number. So now I'm into the property for $30,000. I will sell that to an investor for 30% down to $20,000. I'll hold the note for any investor, 30% down to $20,000. Okay? So it's a turnkey rental for an investor that can't go out and get a mortgage themselves, or they don't have the cash to close at $70,000. I'll sell them that note. So now I put another $20,000 in my pocket. Okay, so now I'm at $30,000. I'm only out $40,000, and I'll hold that note for however long I want. I'll give them a 30-year amortization with a 15-year balloon, which beats any commercial lender out there, right? Because most commercial lenders are doing 25 or 30-year am with a 5 or 7-year balloon. So I'll give them that 15-year balloon. So I give them time to refi if they want with a 3-year prepayment penalty. And then after a year, it is now a performing note. So I can sell that as a partial. I sell it as a whole or a partial. If I sell it as a partial, So we have 180 payments. They made 12, right? After a year? Okay, so we're at 168 payments. I could sell them 50, 60, 70, 80 payments. If I sell them 80 payments, they give me a lump sum of, let's say, $30,000, and they'll get themselves 8 to 10% return on that. And the 81st payment, where does it go?
You guarantee those payments.
Sure, on a heartbeat. If they don't pay, I'll back their payments, and I'll do it again. But that 81st payment, 81st to 168, where does it come back to?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's gold.
Yeah.
That's gold.
All right, no, we have a variety of different people in here, A players down to brand new people.
Right.
Our A players can ask you questions all day long, and it's going to go over the head of a lot of other people. For the new people here that want to team up with us or you or whoever, what should they look for? We're going to go to. You gave us the neighborhoods that you like, the house, prices. But when they go out the street tomorrow, and they're excited about, hey, listen, I learned about buying notes and doing notes. What should they go out there and look for?
Okay, first thing they should do is look for an emerging market. Why is that market emerging? Why do they like it? Okay, and then work on an exit strategy.
All around here. So for the most part, at least these people in this room, other than the people who are online, are all in an emerging market. They're in a growing, we can go to Chattanooga, which is also emerging, and we also go to Memphis.
Great market.
But all right, continue. What should they look for? Just base people looking for something to turn into a next higher player.
Okay. If they're looking to actually acquire those notes themselves, they're going to actually put together a power team in that area. Who's their realtor? Who's their contractor? Who's their property manager? Who's their attorney? Because what they're going to have to do is once they take down these, then they're going to contact either the local banks. You're not going to call that Bank of America and Wells Fargo and Chase and expect to get a note. It's not going to happen. They sell them in large pools, or sell them Fannie and Freddie, sell them in large pools. You're going to call your local credit unions, your local banks. Or you can get online and you could find hedge funds that are selling notes all the time. And you can start bidding on notes that way. You can go to servicing companies. Servicing companies out there will sell notes to you. And it's a great place I always tell people when they come to me to help them out, I always say it's a great place. If you want to learn yourself, it's a great place to actually pick up a note and go through all the motions. And even if you don't make as much money on your first note, you at least learn everything you need to learn about because you need to look at collateral. Sure, go ahead.
All right. So if somebody wanted to spend all day or at least a couple hours a day calling these small banks and say, hey, listen, you have any notes to sell? Or I want to get down to exactly what to say to these banks. For these new people in here.
Best thing to do.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to that. Tomorrow I'm going to make a list of all these banks, these small one-horse, two-horse banks, and all these service companies, and you can Google the service companies. And you can ask the banks who their service company is, and you make yourself a database. And then I'm going to start making my calls and get to the person who's in charge of notes. So.
Well, I'll tell you right now. Your best bet when you first start out, because banks are great to get direct is great, but your best bet when you first start out is hook up with the servicing companies. They sell notes. You can buy a note. They have a platform. You can go in there. You can look at notes. You can buy notes right away. That's the best way to start out. So you at least get a note. It's like trying to get somebody to start out doing fix and flips and they can't find the property. So multiple servicing companies out there. FCI is one. They sell notes. They're very reputable to sell notes. PPR, note company, Dave Van Horn, he sells notes. So if you want to write those down and check them out, go on there, see notes they're selling. Because, FCI is who I service my notes with anyway. So you want to get used to looking at them because those are people that you're going to probably get used to servicing. All right. But then what you do is there's a whole other aspect to getting in with the banks. You can get on LinkedIn. You're not going to call up a bank and say, hey, who has a note for sale? You're going to look at the special asset division in a bank. It's different than the REO division. There's a special asset division. And those are the people that handle the notes. Okay? But what you want to do is at first, like if I was doing this tomorrow, I tell this to people I've coached, I said, get out there, go to the servicing company, start pricing out notes, and make offers at that point. But you want to have an exit strategy in mind. Okay, make an offer with, and give me multiple exit strategies. How much would this asset make you if you have to refi it? If you have to, rent it. How much would it make you if you had to fix and flip it? Okay, so you really need to know what your costs are. Now, I can tell you in certain markets what your costs are going to be for, foreclosing, for servicing, for loan boarding, for evicting. And then you have to worry about, is there a bankruptcy or is not going to be a bankruptcy? That's why you want to speak to an attorney. Any attorney will give you that information over the phone. So you want to speak with a foreclosure attorney in your market. Okay, so the team is most important to set up before you do anything.
All right, good.
I was going to say, we've got a pretty good team for that. In fact, we used FCI for servicing and purchase and obviously you've done this so much more than me. I could pick your brain for hours on this. Actually, I was, as a real estate agent, had done a couple of deals with PennyMac, just having borrowers in distress. I don't know if you, and they were, and I know when Synovus got put under a consent order, or when Bank of Nashville got put under a consent order, we were able to they weren't able to foreclose, and they were getting judgments against people, and then those judgments were essentially discounted significantly, and we do come across situations in our agent transactions where we're able to use this knowledge that you've got to, not to the degree that you have it, but to make a transaction work. I wanted to hit you up on a couple of things that I think are really important. You have to invest your cash and expect that it's going to be invested for a certain amount of time. The biggest pitfalls, if they file bankruptcy, or what are the biggest risks for an investor that's going to buy a note maybe from a local bank or from FCI or one of these? If they're buying non-performing with equity, trying to possibly foreclose or take one of the exit strategies, what are your the biggest problems, your headaches?
The biggest problem for us is definitely the bankruptcies. But there is a timeline. Like for instance, in Memphis, I've never gone longer than 9 months, even with bankruptcies. There's only a certain amount of time people can keep filing those bankruptcies before this precedent without judgment. Your attorney will do. So that's why I buy in those markets. I bought a lot in Florida, and I'll sit on those deals sometimes 3, 4, 5 years. And there's other issues that come up when you're, because there's time of the essence that comes up. And astute borrowers know this. They know how to play the game. The other thing they'll do is they'll stop paying, okay, and then you'll get in touch with them. Your lawyer will send them a deficiency, and they'll start paying again. And then you stop the foreclosure, and you get started all over again. So that happens. But you have to. The things you really need to make sure of is, I've seen it happen a lot of times. People not checking on taxes, so they foreclose. They go in, they buy a note, and the tax lien gets sold off, and they lost the property for a couple $100 or a couple $1,000, whatever. I've seen it happen so many times. Not putting forced place insurance and properties going on fire. Okay, forced place insurance is when you buy a note, you got to imagine that the borrower is not paying their taxes or insurance. So part of your due diligence before you buy that note is to call your county tax office or check Pacer and see what taxes are owed. Okay, check your local utilities. See if the utilities are paid. If they're not, it'll tell you if a borrower is in a house or not. One, it'll also tell you if there's a lien on your property. So these are kind of the things I've seen people do, that they lose all their money and profit in taxes, forced place insurance, utilities, and homeowners association liens. Those are the 4 things you need to check. You have to check, besides running a quick title report.
Anybody?
would college towns make a difference in looking for houses, in essence, higher rental markets?
He's asking if college towns are good to buy in.
They're great to buy in. I own decent amount in towns around Temple. University of Delaware in Delaware is a great market. It's anything that you have a good exit strategy. In a college town, the best part about the exit strategy is it's usually a good rental market. And two is you could sell it off to investors for more than the property is usually worth because they buy it on yield.
Broad and Erie, there's the best cheesesteak place. Max's Cheesesteaks. They're about 19 inches long. So when you go down there next time to collect your rent, just go down to Max's. Your tires might be gone when you get back in the car, but you'll enjoy the
You
cheesesteak.
got a big rack of 40s that you buy with your cheesesteak. And
I'm a fan.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't buy in the nice neighborhood over at Drexel and University of Penn. You got to go to Temple, right?
Temple is. You know what? I agree with that area. But if I could find, you know what it is? Everybody wants the best markets. Like I love notes on commercial deals and multifamilies, but trying to find those is very tough. Not that they're not available; they're out there, but they're tough to find. You just got to stick to your strategy, stick to your exit strategy. For us, we have investors constantly coming to us looking to buy turnkey rentals to build a portfolio. Not only for the United States, outside the United States. So we have an exit strategy in place. So we're doing almost a reverse wholesale. Like when you guys do reverse wholesaling, we're doing reverse notes. We're almost looking for notes that we know we can unleash to them. So we're just building our.
Steve showed me about exit property. I was like a buy, and who cares after that? But Steve showed me the wisdom of having the exit strategy before you buy. A couple of things that came to my mind is, well, first off, this room here is perfect for that team. We have auction buyers over here who know how to quickly price a house and know what the prices are worth. We got mortgage guys, we got fix and flip guys down here. Manny does short sales, so he knows the ins and outs of doing business with the banks. And there's plenty of other guys in here and girls in here that have the wisdom.
Right.
But you mentioned, don't call it the REO guy, call it the asset guy. One of our new shows coming up is a guy out of Florida, a friend of mine, broker. He has lists of REO properties. Now, you can also turn that REO into notes. I mean, we're buying it 50, 60%, on the dollar. And just put it, just change it around to a note and sell them as turnkey rental properties. Fix them or not fix them,
That's
so REOs is also another way to.
Well, and one thing he's speaking of that is particularly interesting is the ability to take possibly a property that you purchase for investment, and when you put a note on there that you can sell for 100% of value, so you can essentially turn the property through some form of owner financing at or above market value. It's a tougher property to unload because you're owner financing. You get someone who can qualify, and then if you're able to get that note sold at 100%, then it's an exit strategy, not just for notes, but for properties. I have one, oh gosh, what was that? FCID, there was one other thing I really wanted to ask. I'm forgetting what it was.
Do you use an angel? Do you have hard money guys behind you with some big money to buy a lot of this stuff for you? Or you basically as investors want to do it, you do a deal?
Well, we have two pretty large hedge funds behind us, and we do lend hard money ourselves. I've been a lender, and that's how I got kind of in the note game about 17 years ago. After 28 years in the business, I'm in the business now 28 years. After a good 10 years in the business, I just got tired of constantly paying Wells Fargo and Chase every time a tenant didn't pay me. And I had a pretty large rental portfolio. And decided at that point I was going to start lending my money and be a private lender. We did very well. We became a pretty big lender at that time, the hard money space. And we started picking up more notes. But yeah, we have, for the note space, there are some funds out there that will lend on it. We've done 3 PPMs. We're about to do a 4th, and we'll be picking up pretty large portfolios of notes with our 4th PPM. So they're out there. A lot of your hedge funds are not going to do that. They're short term. They want to be paid monthly. And when I do a note, the way I usually fund my notes is joint venture partners or my own money. And I give them pretty nice exit strategies where I give them the right to buy me out, first right of refusal on a note to buy me out. And if they don't buy me out, I can buy them out. And if not either of us, then we sell it off. But usually I have a lot of investors that come to us. Like, for instance, I'm speaking next week in California at the Note Expo. There'll be 300-400 people there. And people are constantly looking to buy notes, but they don't know how to do it. So we'll joint venture. And we don't joint venture with everyone. We're very particular on who we work with, obviously. Just like any partner you work with, you want to make sure that, they're realistic. They understand that it could take a couple of years. They could lose their money. In fact, we just did a little cartoon video that says, you will lose your money. Don't trust us. Do your due diligence, all that stuff. Because you don't want people to have false hopes in the note business. But, if you mitigate your risk and you do your due diligence, that's what it's all about. You're really going to set yourself up right. And, I just tell people there's no guarantees in this. If anyone guarantees you anything, you better run, don't walk in any part of this business.
I was just going to say, we can have this conversation a little bit later, but I'm actually very, very interested. I know several people in here that would be, if you have just some sourcing. I just haven't, and it's not my primary business, but sourcing of anything that's in Middle Tennessee, period. Because we're very strong as far as understanding the value. You've got a ton of fix and flippers in here, just regular rental investors, but just sourcing notes that are not performing first, looking for some equity. We can talk about that, or if you want to broker them to us, or however we do it.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
No, I've got a question.
Just one quick question. I've done one note where I owner financed several houses for a large amount of money, and the person put $100,000 down, but the realtor wanted paid up front because unfortunately it was through a realtor. Ended up paying him up front. Ended up foreclosing. Turned out to be good because I paid like 15% in taxes and got a basis bump like you wouldn't believe. You probably know what I'm talking about. Some other folks might not. But how do you handle that when realtors do put the deal together and they want their money up front? Do you just tell them, hey, when I get paid, you get paid, or because basically you ended up paying out like $30,000 or $40,000 of the $100,000 to the realtor, and then all of a sudden I took back a bunch of properties that had been trashed.
Well, couple good points that can be brought up there, and part of my presentation was a little bit about that. I try not to do too many I imagine this is owner-occupied property. Is that correct?
It was 6 rentals.
6 rentals.
Okay, it's rentals. So it's not
No.
Okay. From this part, I personally don't like the realtor much on notes to investors. Most of my investors come to us. Like, when we're at an event speaking, they come to us and say, hey, I want to build my portfolio. I want to kind of ascertain what they're looking for and work up a plan for them. So I'm direct selling to them. But when I did work with realtors in the past when I did a note. And what I did is I told them I'd pay them a percentage up front and a percentage when the note was closed out. Now, if you're going to do a 15-year balloon, they're not going to wait 15 years to get paid. So I don't know if you were listing it through a realtor and they came to you. If you did list it through a realtor and it came to you, you just have to negotiate. You're probably going to have to pay them out because you sold the property.
Yeah, Dan, he says a 3-year note. I used to do a lot of 3-year lease purchases, and the rent, they always want to get paid up front. I said, hey, I just gave you the easiest deal you can sell. They get, they don't even need a loan. They just pay $10,000 down. It's a 3-year note. You're waiting, period.
And I would tell them,
give you all the money up front.
We're about to do this, and I told the realtor they get paid when I get paid, but we're paying 50% up front.
But anyway, Dan, listen, I know you got a ton more stuff, and I hope you can set it with Doc to come on back and finish up your presentation. We like to keep it at an hour, 7:30 here our time, 8:30 your time. I'm sure there's a ton more questions. How do you like our program here? How do you like our this online stuff?
You know what?
Tell those guys in California, say, listen, just get on OmniJoin And I'll stay here in New York. I mean, I like going to California too, but you know, you're out there for 5 days for a 2-hour speech.
I mean, I love the the one-on-one meetings, the meeting people in face-to-face. That's always great. You can't beat that face-to-face. But I mean, a couple of years ago we did over 60 events nationwide. This year we're trying to keep it down to under 10. So I'll be in California, next week for 4 or 5 days. Then we're in Dallas the month after, and when we're in Austin the month after. I feel like I live in West Palm Beach, constantly there, speaking at the Ironman event. So it's nice to do this. It's nice to do this.
You can use our platform and just say, hey, I'm not coming out. Just get on here. You want to pay me extra, I'll come on out. But right now, just get on OmniJoin and I'll teach.
This is great. This is great. And I hope I a little bit.
This is what I invited you for, so you can see our platform.
Yeah, we're going to do some business.
And this is, I mean, face to face is always the best, but we're in the 21st century. You just can't get everywhere. Right. I mean, you want to talk to 10 people in Atlanta. You can use OmniJoin and still have this face-to-face. You can see your face smiling, and you still get the essence of, listen, I love to be there in person, but this is the second best thing. So
thank God. Thank God this works.
Doc, you want to tell everybody who's our speaker for the next week or two?
Yes, we actually have a friend of yours, Dave Elizada, who's up in New Jersey, and he's going to be doing a talk that should be quite interesting. Apparently, he does it up there, and it's very popular. And basically, what he's going to do is go through the home and talk about the different systems in the home and teach the terminology and then what it does. This is the kind of thing. I was actually telling him a lot about Paul, what Paul does, and this is the kind of presentation that would be kind of an intro to the work that Paul Kasnowski does. So I think it'll be pretty cool.
I used to beat him up when I was a little kid. But anyway, now he's a big karate expert. He says he just wants to take me out. But he works primarily in downtown Philly. His clients buy up blocks of Girard Avenue and some of the major streets there. So a lot of things he's going to be talking about is how to deal with the city, how to deal with dumpsters. Code enforcement guys, how do you put the dumpster on the sidewalk and get away with it with the city? I'm sure he's going to talk about how to grease the wheels, as you say. So Dave he's a wealth of knowledge. He's going to start a group there in Jersey where his real estate group, we can watch via this OmniJoin, watch his Jersey and South Philly group and see properties that are happening over there. We can buy property there. Who's next after, just one more week, who's after that?
Well, the next scheduled event is actually going to be Danny, because we just scheduled him today, or rescheduled him, I guess is the best way to put it. He's going to be at the beginning of October. That's October 4th. And this time we're going to have him stay overnight in Green HQ, so he's there.
I thought I had somebody after Dave talking.
I'm actually working on that. It's in progress. I don't want to announce anything until I nail it down.
Well, anyway, we want to thank Dan for his mind-blowing wisdom that he just gave us. We hope to hear a lot more from Dan coming up. I'm sure you'll be able to take questions if somebody calls you. Doc, if you want to put his slide up with his phone number and stuff like that, well, everybody can jot it. And all this stuff is recorded and archived on our website. If you go to our green networking groups, you'll see archives. We have every meeting from the start of this. From February 15th, our first meeting here, it's all recorded. Looks just like this. And you can watch this. And in a couple of days, this will be up there too. So if you want to refresh yourself with what Dan said, if Dan, you want to watch it and make sure you got all the things right you wanted to say, or know where to continue. But we want to thank Dan for a great presentation. And I'm gonna bring up Steve here for the rest of the night, so I can fall asleep. No, I mean, so.
I'll make it quick and painless.
So I'm going to bring up my partner Steve Chasen, and he'll wrap us up with what the future plans of Green and what we're going to do now.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Steve.
All right. Yeah. Hey, well, so we've got a few new faces tonight. It's nice to see everyone. Sometimes you guys come to these meetings, a lot of variety. Last couple of weeks, we've actually been a little more personal. We've been going around trying to get to know people, trying to figure out what they want individually with their real estate investor club. And really what we do with Green, we're trying to create more of a kind of a mentor-based relationship in this real estate education. Because we're attached, we have a network marketing component to this business. Our online training with Paul, with Jeremy Tabor, with Dave, myself, and many people who have made millions and millions of dollars in real estate. We've discussed this before for the people that have been here. It's an unequivocal good value. It charges $99 a month, and it's $9.97 to be a representative. And what I'm seeing is I'm just seeing more energy. We've got deals coming across. I've had some nice wholesale things come up. I know several people have already done deals since we started this. So what Green essentially is, it's a real estate education company wrapped up in a network marketing platform. These meetings that we have here are always free and open to the public. That you can come on if you're a member and do online training with us. It's a little more intense, a little more involved. And, you know, for the people that I see that are engaging in these events, these are the type of people who are taking their businesses seriously. I mean, you can sit around, you can do nothing. I understand that we're all busy, and sometimes you want to spend time, you know, with your family, and you just don't want to go out and do these things. The people that are actively engaging in these groups, building their networks, building their relationships, it's more than just your associations. Your relationships with people, your knowledge of other people that are coming out here. These are the people whose businesses are growing. You know, I'll just relate to you guys a story. There's several stories, but I still love the fact that I think that out of our first, our first group of people that joined the company, we literally have 30% of this group either millionaires or multimillionaires. Those are just the ones I know. The rest of you might be just the ones that I know. So it's showing me that people who are successful think a certain way. They want to get together and associate with like-minded people who are trying to move forward. And then what we're doing with Green is we're all reaching out to the next person with us and say, hey, why don't you come work with us, and hopefully we can teach you a thing or two about real estate. But I had and I'll just relate a story. A fabulous guy. You guys know that, some of you know that I hang my license with a personal friend who is the number 2 exit real estate agent in the world. He was my client before he got into real estate. So he's top 10 in Nashville, made probably $1.5 million just in personal commissions last year. And I hang my license with him. He trains with us. He trains for our company. In fact, I offered to pay him. He wouldn't take it, just like Paul wouldn't take it, because he saw the vision of what we were doing. And from our standpoint, we wanted consistent trainers we were willing to pay, but they were willing to do it because they saw the vision of what we're trying to bring.
And Larry?
And wanted, I wasn't offered any money. I would have taken it. You've made it. Yeah. No, you would have been expected to. Yeah. Larry has been a very good partner, and we've all done well working together. We can talk about partnership. Anyway, I had a friend of mine. He just won the award for RE/MAX International Broker of the Year. Andy Bray, great guy. He is in the realm of real estate brokers, he's an NFL football player.
Did you say Andy?
Andy, yeah. And so the guy, RE/MAX International Broker of the Year. He pulls me aside, and we had 3 or 4 closings over there. My kid that I was in Boy Scouts with is an attorney, and he does a lot of putting together of little documents, and his office is in the RE/MAX office. So Andy pulls me aside, and he's like, Steve, what do you think about this EXP thing? And I what EXP is, it's a real estate company that's built around a network marketing model, just like Keller Williams. And it's built, they have incentivized their agents to help build the team. I said, I said, what I see is I've got some RE/MAX agents, great friends, but I see an energy and I see people showing up. And I think that's important. And so what's happening is they're losing agents. This kind of thing is open to everybody. But I'm just calling it like I see it. We have a platform. I encourage every real estate broker, every company to come in, add value, get online, train with us. Come and meet other real estate agents and investors. Show me what your value proposition is. And what I'm seeing is a certain group of agents that are actually out building relationships with other people are doing that. And, he's justifying their value proposition, which he doesn't have to. I would work. It's a fabulous broker to work with. The owner is incredible. He's the managing broker. They're both great people. But there is something to be said for people that are willing to come out on a Wednesday night, consistently build their business, develop their relationships, and do what we're doing here. And it will help your business grow. And what we do here with the network marketing, we got a couple of people that I'm going to sign up over here if you guys are interested in joining or have some more questions. I like to be as prompt as possible. Sometimes we let we go over a little bit. As you guys know, we open the doors here at 6. We start about 6:30. We go until about 7:30. Give you guys about half an hour, meet each other, change business cards, exchange. I'll be right back there to answer any questions. If you want to join Green, we have no junk fees. We have a network marketing model, so you get paid if you bring people, and there's no contracts. It's $99 a month, $9.97. That's it. If you want to join, train online with us, we welcome you to come do that. And as I said, all of you are always welcome here. This, you may or may not know it, but this is it doesn't have to be more advanced. It's usually a slightly more advanced, investor that is getting into notes. There's a lot of money to be made in notes, and this gentleman knows what I want to know. So this, for me, this was great tonight. This was worth. I can't. I mean,
Don't say that. He'll want to get paid too.
Yeah. No. I'm just saying.
You get nothing, Dan.
I can tell you guys. I bought.
Yeah, there you go.
I bought a 5,600 square foot condo on Union Street. I bought the note for $25,000.
We were going to buy that whole floor downtown at 5th and Union Street. We were going to buy that.
I bought that note. I bought that.
Yeah, well, we should have kept the door.
Yeah, I should have. I flipped it, but it was a
Passive income.
it was a good deal. It was a good deal, but that was a bank that was failing in the crash, and so yeah, we've had nothing but good experiences with those. But so for those of you guys that are kind of wanting to get some passive income, maybe wanting to step up and maybe out from the rental game eventually. These are going to be really, really good subjects to really sort of pack into that mental Rolodex. So anyway, great presentation. Thank you. And guys, I hope to see y'all. Yes, sir.
Hey everybody, I'm Caleb. And I want to present this property.
Oh yeah.
Come on up here, Caleb.
Yeah.
Come on, Caleb. Speak up. We got to make money.
We like properties.
We got to make money, Caleb.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I want to put, I'm Caleb. I joined Green maybe a month ago, something like that. I wholesale. I call myself a real estate entrepreneur, so I do what makes money. And now I have control of a commercial property. I'm not sure who's familiar with Clarksville Pike, Bordeaux area, North Nashville. So I have the property under contract, and I'm offering it for $1.2 million. It's a mom and pop motel, weekly leases. The property adjacent to it sold for $2.2 million, so it's highly discounted. I know some realtors here too who make some, people who invest in commercial properties. So I want to pitch it to whoever has anybody. I know you probably have somebody, Monica, that we can work with. Yeah. I'm not sure if I gave you one of my cards, but I give you one of my cards too. And anybody else who know anybody, you can give my card too. We'll just go from there. Yeah, and we share money around here too. So if you bring somebody, we'll spread the money.
He knows.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah.
All right, thanks, good. Give them the markers and I'll put them up. Anybody else have any deals they want to pitch? This is what we do. Steve, we have anything?
We got a bunch, but I can talk.
All right. Well, we bought 3 properties last week. I don't know, 1 or 2 this week. We're pretty avid buyers here, but you know what? We have more partners. We'll do more deals. These guys here are machines when it comes down to the auctions. If there's any other questions, none. Going once. All right, no questions. That's the same. I was going to give a gift out if anybody asks me questions. All right, anyway, thanks for coming. You guys can hang around for another half hour. Dan, you can stay on there and listen in. Or